Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Sunday gathering. Sometimes it may dawn upon us as a realization when we're not busy with figuring life out or figuring ourselves out or trying to smoothen things as if they're not already how they should be. Not that we just sit on the couch and don't do anything about anything in life. However, there's this deep-rooted sense of something is not okay and it needs to be made okay for me to relax, for me to be rested within my own self. When that is not in the foreground as the primary content of what we are experiencing in life, gratitude may appear. And in today's day, um, in the world of embracing oneself and the uh, tools that are being taught for self-love, self-care, journaling, and maintaining a gratitude journal throughout the day. They are beautiful ways to encourage a change within, a change in the attitude towards myself, towards life, towards the other, by maybe incorporating a small habit in a day or a new experiment with that requires 5 minutes a day or however they are teaching, depending on what the framework is. Gratitude arising, when there is suffering, we forget that there is a lot to be grateful for. When we're watching the news and reading the current events and maybe even talking to a friend or a relative, and if it's a complaining conversation or a painful conversation or a conversation coming from a place of not being happy with something. Because if we're happy, what's there to talk about? So mostly the general societal conversations happen to be coming from a place of unfulfillment, desire, and not only desire, but attachment to desire being fulfilled, or attachment to not losing what we have, or attachment of some kind. What we like, what we don't like, opinions about others, judgments about ourselves, about others. And yet, in that environment and scenario, it might be easy to forget that there is a lot to be grateful for. And it may bring a smile up in our hearts, on our faces, when it dawns upon us that, oh, wow, what have I to complain for? And even though if we are in a habit of working with things that are not perfect, working with things that are not ideal in our life, it could be physical pain or some sort of relationship struggle, financial struggle, any physical or mental ailment. Things have a way of bringing up a challenge always that we might be working towards. And yet, in the midst of that struggle, it may just for a moment can fall away. The struggle can fall away, and gratitude might be there. Just in this instance, us sitting together here in this gathering, in this talk, how fortunate it is that life has put us in a place where there is a genuine interest in self-realization, in understanding who we are, in understanding what are we really looking for, and in grounding in what is recognized. That already is a jackpot. I may spend my whole life celebrating just the fact that I am a seeker, that seeking has started, that the gaze has turned inward. And not only that, life has put us in a place where we can afford electronic device and we have internet and we can come on this platform, look at one another, be in one another's presence. The presence that points to itself, which is not two. Life has created time for us in daily life where there can be contemplation and investigation and surrendering and falling away of suffering. In this moment, is gratitude present? Gratitude is the fragrance of contentment. Gratitude is the fragrance of not needing anything because nothing is missing. On the contrary, gratitude is the proof that everything is more than even we asked for, is abundant, is whole, is already fulfilled. And that is exactly another way of saying that God, that you, that consciousness are already here. The one seeking is what is being sought. There is nothing to find. There is nothing to fix. Not even the suffering. The presence of gratitude is the experience that I am already whole. There is no conflict. There is nothing to figure out. And yet, conflicts can arise. and can be tackled. But now the conflict is not about who I am and what this means about me, but the conflict is only at the level of the flow of life, which is ever only one way, which is either pleasure or pain. So yes, the conflict is an appearance of pain in the moment. And now that conflict or that pain arising is not an attack on who I am anymore. It is just something that has arisen, and an action may be taken, a decision may be made, and it will have an outcome. And that outcome in itself could be pleasure or pain, depending on if the outcome was according to our preference or if the outcome was according to not our preference or somebody else's preference. And based on that outcome being pleasurable or painful, there is more pain as a consequence, or pleasure as a consequence of the acceptance or rejection of that outcome by myself, by the other, by society, by our family. And then we may be either enjoying the credit for that good outcome, or we may be enduring the pain or punishment if the outcome was painful. And that in itself is the flow of life, pleasure or pain. And of course, a reward or credit towards a good outcome from out there, the society, is pleasure again. And a punishment or judgment for a painful outcome that was an outcome of a decision that was made by me is again pain in the moment. Punishment and judgment is just pain, not pleasurable, and yet still not an attack on my completeness, still not able to touch who I really am, ever complete, ever fulfilled, always here as the presence within which the pleasure, the pain, and the relating to that pleasure and pain happen. I am gratitude itself. I am fulfillment itself. I am complete. I am already. I am. What am I? Am I this person that seems to have a personality, is passionate about some things and rejects some other things, has some strengths and weaknesses, is prone to physical illness and relationship problems and failures in life and successes? Am I the thoughts, the incessant, obsessive thinking that goes on, sometimes pleasant daydreaming, and sometimes obsessive overthinking, that shakes and makes the system shiver in itself, but the thinking cannot stop? Am I the emotions, the joy, the excitement, the sadness, the despair, resentment, pride, even love? Love in the I love you sense. You give me pleasure, I love you. You give me pain, I hate you. Am I that? What am I? What is here, which is the baseline of this body mind organism, the thinking, the feelings, the emotions, the experience of me itself? What is the baseline on which this experience of me is taking place? And if there is a movement of trying to find the answer or trying to find what is the baseline, what is it within which even that movement is taking place? What is it within which even this verbal silence is perceived? You are that within which even the silence is. You are that within which the noise or the sound is also. But it's only because of the presence of silence that the sound or a movement can appear. Because a movement is not the movement in itself. The movement is a movement because of the gaps between the silence. The silence is primary than the movement or the sound. And I am that within which silence is. And that I am, and silence are not two. There's no separation between silence and I am. This recognition aligns, penetrates, pierces through the movement of life itself. It penetrates, it transforms, it changes the way the flow of life is related to. So in a way, it changes, it penetrates through, it pierces through the person that I am. And as a person, a grounding in the appreciation of the source of the person is experienced as continuous and unbroken peace of mind in daily living, which is another name for falling away of suffering. Where suffering is labeled as the belief in the sense of personal doership and attachment to outcome. Where the sense of personal doership results in this load of guilt or shame towards whatever has happened through me in the past or in the present, and holding myself responsible as a doer towards the painful outcomes. That this happened because I did it, and it was not a good event in life, and I'm responsible for that because I'm the doer. I could have done differently. I should have done differently. And it's a shame that I didn't. The belief in the sense of personal doership also can show up as blame, resentment, or hatred towards the other. And that other could be an object, a human being, a sentient being, or just life, or even our idea of God. When life delivers pain and pain is taken on as an attack on my completeness. And because that pain was delivered by the other, that other is obviously the doer of what they said or did or didn't say or didn't do. So hence, I blame them, I resent them, I hate them for making me incomplete. The belief in the sense of personal doership can also show up as pride or arrogance towards the good outcomes of life that were delivered through me as a result of the actions that happened from this body mind organism or words that came out of this mouth. And then there can be a sense of pride or being superior than others, that look at me, I'm such a good doer, my decisions are so good, so you better respect me or bow down to me. And these mechanisms showing up in our daily life, consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously, is the proof that there is still suffering in the system, which is appearing or happening out of the belief in the sense of personal doership, that I'm the doer, you're the doer. So when I or you do the pain, I hate myself or I hate you. And when I or you do the pleasure, then it's okay. If it's my doing of pleasure, there is pride. If it's your doing of pleasure, I say thank you and move on, enjoy the pleasure. What it is also based on is the belief of attachment to outcome. The belief that my life needs to be pleasure, pleasure, pleasure in order for me to be complete. Another way to say that my happiness, my completeness is actually to be found in the flow of life and not in who I already am. So this belief in itself is based on the misunderstanding that I am incomplete. Something is missing. I am lacking. And I need the flow of life for the other, for myself, for life to be a certain way, for me to feel, to be complete. The sense of attack or incompleteness within oneself can show up as a form of worry or anxiety about the future. That what if this happens or what if this doesn't happen? That arising is arising from deep-rootedly believing that life needs to happen a certain way. And if it doesn't happen that way, then what? Then I existentially cannot be okay. It can also show up in the form of expectation. And of course, if I'm the doer, the other is the doer, life needs to be pleasure, that's already expectation. Expectation rooted in believing that life needs to be a certain way. I am already not okay. And only if the outcome or life or I am a certain way. So only if these expectations are fulfilled is where I will be complete. So only if I have $100 million, only if I have a loving partner, only if I have a beautiful house or the freedom to travel the world or whatever it may be. It's only then when I will be complete. and attachment to outcome can be experienced within the system as an injury toward that is felt towards an outcome. Just like, how could this happen? How could someone cross in front of me in the line? How could someone honk at me for 10 seconds? That existential that happens towards myself, towards the other, towards a little or a big event in life is what attachment to outcome feels like. And if any of these are arising, they are the fragrance or the smell of the suffering mechanism. And suffering arises from this deep-rooted sense of lack, sense of incompleteness, sense of not knowing who we are, what I am, what is here. So as a person suffering, as a person experiencing guilt or shame, blame, hatred or resentment, pride, although it may not be remembered in the time of feeling pride, because pride is a less dense form of suffering. So it may even feel a little pleasurable when we are kind of big-headed. Or when worry or anxiety is arising towards what will happen in life or what should happen in life. Or when expectations are arising as an entitlement of, I deserve this and I expect this and you better deliver this to me. It is also arising out of the total identification with the sense of person, from ignorantly believing that all I am is this body-mind. All I am is Gurleen, this bunch of concepts and shoulds and shouldn'ts and all the narratives that are built around this identity that I call me. When all there is me as the identity, there is suffering. And when all there is I am, within which the identity, the me, is arising, within which it is built. So when all there is that I am, there's no suffering. And that recognition fully penetrating and integrating with me, the identity, is the end of suffering. And what is the litmus test of end of suffering? Is the falling away of the sense of lack. To be more specific, the falling away of these 5 forms of suffering, falling away of the belief in the sense of personal doership and attachment to outcome. So when suffering arises, it's not a problem. It's like, thank God, suffering is here. That means there's something to look at. And there can be gratitude that there is enough awareness in the system to not like the suffering, because there may be a time in the past, or we may know certain people in our life who are in a loop of suffering where they don't even know they're suffering. And that's the worst kind of suffering, or the most dense, in a way, kind of suffering, where we don't even know that there is suffering. So when suffering arises, it's an opportunity. It's a call for stopping in the tracks of whatever is going on and just claiming, not as an action, not as a decision, not as a doer of that action or decision. And yet there can be a stepping back, a stopping, where the suffering mechanism, the whole arising, can show itself as a pattern of this identity. And the light of that I am can shine through that suffering mechanism, shine through that blame or shame or pride, worry or expectation. Without even an intention, without even feeling like, oh, this will end the suffering or this will ease it. No intention. It is just like sun rises and the flower blooms. So the flower is not like closed down, waiting that I will only open up when the sun is shining. And it's not like the sun is like, oh, I will shine and I'll make the flower bloom. None of that. It's just such a natural movement that starts happening in the system as more and more grounding takes place within ourselves, including our flaws, including where we might feel stuck. And the gratitude is a very practical tool that, if it resonates, if it arises, can beautify the process. It's like a sugar coating on the bitter medicine, maybe sometimes. And the whole bhakti marg is sort of based on gratitude, surrender towards your idol or the god that the bhakt might be worshipping. Full surrender is gratitude itself, that whatever is more than I could ever ask for. It is grace, it is God's grace, it is Guru's grace, it is life, ever flowing abundantly, more than what I could ask for, with more clarity, with more awareness, with more threshold towards the suffering that arises. So if the suffering is intensifying, it is more intense for sure. It does feel like that it can kill us. And yet there is a little dimension that can be recognized where it becomes clear that the suffering is more intense, not because it's new suffering, but because there is more space to hold the already existing suffering in a fuller way, a more wider view, a more wholesome view. It's like when we go to the gym and the first day I can only lift 5 pounds. And then as the strength keeps building, I can now maybe lift 50 pounds. And the 50 pound is not showing that, oh, like I'm taking too much pain on myself. It is the proof of the strength that is now built in the system that can take 50-pound weight. And if that is happening, oh, what a gift. What a gift that I can be present, not only in health, not only in peace, not only in bliss, but also in sickness, but also in suffering, but also in pain. I don't need to run away anymore from myself. I don't need to run away from my weird thinking patterns. I don't need to run away from an unhealthy relationship. I don't need to run away from my current life situation. There is no need to run anywhere, because whatever I might be running away from, well, whatever I might be trying to run away from is going to catch up, because wherever I go, there I am. And the running away can stop. And the paradox is that it may stop, but before it stops, there might be a movement of acceptance or surrender towards that running away from oneself. It's like, how do you accept something? How do you surrender to something which I am trying to stop or trying to fix or trying to finish? And yet, very counterintuitive, surrendering to it, accepting it, and being in that I am with it, as not two, as not a sense of separation that, oh, I'm not suffering, I am that, and suffering is there. Because that also might be a running away from suffering, because I need to separate myself from the suffering because I am affected by the suffering, because I am fully not grounded in that which is the baseline, not only of silence, but the movement of suffering within that silence. And that I am, and the arising of peace or suffering is not two, is not separate, is not what I am. So if I'm trying to fix the suffering, I am basically rejecting myself. I am basically still running away. And that's the paradox. It's only in turning towards the suffering that there is a possibility of suffering falling away. Before I open up the space for comments or questions or conversations, I feel to remind again that everything that is said here, or everything that might be implied with what is said and what is not said here, is a concept. It's not the truth. And if anything that I request is that don't take my words for any of what is being sought after. They are just concepts, and they're just a suggestion to maybe it may land in the system, maybe it is rejected in the system, and maybe it is not even registered. And all of that is fully valid. Let's not take any of these concepts as absolute truths and go out and talk to my friends like, see, I told you this is how it is, because how it is can never be talked about. It can only be pointed towards that too, not very efficiently. And yet, the agent of resonance and the agent of silence may open up as the grace. And as that opens up, it might be confirmed and experienced that the concepts may be accurate, may be inaccurate, and yet what is experienced as what I am is nothing like what the words say. It's nothing like the concepts that are spoken of or that are read of. So if you have anything to say, feel free to raise your electronic hand on Zoom and I can unmute you. Shiv.
One second. Hi, you can hear
Hello?
me?
Yes. How are you, Shiv?
Good. Thank you for satsang. One second, I'm just trying to get rid of that hand. Okay, it's fine. Uh, um, uh, what you said about gratitude, I mean, I'm beginning to, like, after being in satsang with you, some changes happening in the sense, before I used to feel, once I noticed how generous God has been, there used to be this idea that I owe something to him. There are all these bhajans by Kabir about how you wasted your life, you didn't try to seek God, you didn't battle against the passions, you didn't renounce things of the world, all these things. They seem to be a way to pay God back. Or not even pay him back, but you owe it to him somewhat. And this idea about how there'll be a day of judgment after death and something happens, there'll be a taking of account, all of that. And these days I'm feeling, I don't know how, but I guess something to do with hearing you also, is that I can just accept the gifts from God and be open to receiving more than being, too caught up in remembering Him, fighting this inner civil war against the passions, all of that. And somewhere Sri Ramakrishna's one quote somewhere I read that you're the child of God, and just to be like that, if we must have an identity, I don't need to pay him back. I'm nothing. I can just open up my hand and receive more and be grateful for whatever he gives. Just wanted to share that. And if you have something to say.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm so glad that the theme of today's talk was so relevant for you. And that's true. When we are a child of God, um, I am entitled to the pleasures that I receive, and I'm entitled to the pain I receive, and I'm entitled to the suffering that I get to experience. It's like, what a wonderful play. What a wonderful design of experience, that just even entertaining the thought of that, what if it's a video game? Sometimes that happens, right? Like some character is living through Gurleen, identified as Gurleen, and playing this game of life. And then somebody just hits quit game and this body dies. If that's even the case, Like, as Gurleen, how wonderful it is to be able to have the senses and to be able to smile and feel joy and to be able to feel sad and have tears and to be able to connect with other beings. And all of it to be able to feel the stub in the toe and the pain of a physical ailment, to have access to places like these where we can really speak about what is real in the moment, and or entertainment. What a joy it is to binge watch Netflix. So all of that, it is just such a buffet, an unfathomable buffet of pleasure and pain. And pain can be experienced because pleasure can be experienced, and pleasure can be experienced because pain can be experienced. So either they both are gifts or they both are curses. The misunderstanding is that one is taken as a gift and one is taken as a curse. And that is the suffering. And even that, to be able to experience that biasness towards the flow of life, is also a gift because it's part of the game. So yes, I completely agree. Just being able to find a place which is aware of already that this body, the breath, the food, the thinking changing for the good or the bad, all of it is just such a gift. And what else is there but then to be grateful?
I don't need to do anything in return, no, out of this gratitude. Doesn't have
No,
to translate into any doing.
because whatever I'll be doing will be the flow of life, resulting in pleasure or pain, which is already how it is destined to happen. So even if I'm doing something out of gratitude, it is a pleasure. And even if I'm just sitting and marinating in gratitude, that is an action. So yes, whatever appears out of gratitude is again is how the flow of life is in this moment for us. So we're not the doer of that paying back, even if that paying back is going on in the sense of doing service or going to temple or donating money to the temple or to a cause. So in whatever way that gratitude is expressed would be an action based on our genes and up-to-date conditioning in this moment, which is God's will, which is how we find ourselves in this moment. And if an action comes out of it, even the paying back is his doing, is his will. So there is no need to take ownership over not paying back or paying back. And even taking it a step back, there is no need to take ownership of feeling grateful or not feeling grateful, because even that is an arising. So if I'm feeling grateful, it's already a pleasurable experience. So let's just enjoy it, let it come, let it have it, and then let it go. Because it is bound to fall away also.
And God doesn't expect anything either. Right?
God is nothing but Shiv. So if Shiv is expecting something of Shiv, then maybe God is expecting something of Shiv.
I'm trying not to because it's pleasant. I don't know. It's something lighter. It's more lighter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Shiv. Life, the flow of life, is designed to be sometimes pleasure and sometimes pain. This is something that when lands in the system can really facilitate to take the flow of life, to take daily living, to take ourselves and the outcomes in life as a little lightly, a little playfully, not as seriously. Because what happens in this relating to life as the separate psychological self is that life can only be pleasure because my happiness is based on life and how it goes. And if pain arises in life, that means something's wrong. It is an attack on who I am. It is an attack on my happiness. And that's why teachers keep pinning to the point that life is designed to be pleasure and pain. That is the fabric of life. That is how it's supposed to be. It is supposed to be sometimes pleasure and sometimes pain. So pain is inevitable, and so is pleasure. The ratio of pleasure and pain, or the amount of pleasure and pain that are experienced in a lifetime or in a moment, is again how it is designed for us based on, we can call it destiny, we can call it just this flux of movement called cosmic flow or flow of life or life energy. It is just how it is designed for this little blip of existence within that unfathomable flow. So it's okay for pain to be experienced. It's okay for a bad outcome to happen. It's okay for someone to dislike us or disrespect us. It's okay to lose money. It is definitely not pleasurable, and it is definitely something to take action on if that's what the situation asks for. But existentially, if there is a knowing, if there is a grounding in the concept, in the recognition that pain is bound to appear in life, one can relate to the pain as pain and not add the extra load of, complaining or resisting, or how could this be, or even shame. Like, why did I do that? And I shouldn't have done it this way for it to happen this way. So when there is this grounding that life is supposed to be sometimes pleasure and sometimes pain. So when now pain arises, the system can be just like, oh, there's pain in the moment. Oh, look at that. I scraped my knee. And then there can be going to a doctor or buying an ointment or Band-Aid and putting it on, and maybe resting or maybe going about our day, depending on the intensity of the pain. And same goes with emotional pain. So if I go through a breakup, of course it is painful. And there might be a stopping in our tracks for a few days or a few weeks where we are processing the loss of a relationship. Or maybe there might be a little, learning from the whole relationship of what caused the breakup. And then these might be the lessons learned for future, for our next relationship, or for our next phase of life where we may be deciding to build a better relationship with ourselves by staying single for a while, or staying by ourselves for a while, or understanding our boundaries. And all of that can happen. And yet, existentially, it is allowed. The breakup is somehow received not from a place of, oh, now, because not from a place of heartbreak that my heart got broken, or that life betrayed me, or my partner betrayed me, but it can be received from a place of, yes, it's valid, it can happen, and it has happened. And now what? How do I mitigate the pain or work with the pain? So it's okay for life to offer pain, as much as it is okay for life to offer pleasure. I want to end this talk on the beautiful note that we started on. There is immense gratitude for this space that all of you, all of us have created by being in presence together, and for holding space for whatever is shared in the talk, not just by me, but anyone who participates. It is a joy, it is an honor to be together every Sunday in this way. Take good care of yourselves. I love you all. Thank you for joining.